Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Hey, everybody. Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to Watching Twin Peaks for the First Time.
This is your reminder. If you have not watched Twin Peaks and you just stumbled across this, turn it off.
Spoilers.
Go away. Come back when you've watched Twin Peaks.
There are a lot of spoilers who are digging deep into the return. And I'm just starting to notice that this show is a little weird.
It is a little weird. I didn't notice before.
Because we're talking about part 7
and 8.
Part 8.
Which I think people have been asking for, right? Well, I mean,
some people in the comments have said, I can't wait till you talk about 8. So we're going to talk about 8. But first, 7 has some really cool things in it as well.
I actually like 7 more than 8.
All right, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Why did you like part 7 more than 8?
Well, okay, so part 7, I think that there's more to part 7 than part 8. And just as because I really liked part 8, but as an episode, it's a little unsatisfying. And I know people are like, whoa, there's so much going on. But when you boil it down, it's not much going on.
The going into the explosion for about 5 or 10 minutes.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
And I was like, these special effects are amazing. Sure.
But you don't have you don't feel like you have to look at
I don't have to look at each frame
and say this is what this explosion means.
It's more of a feeling than a story episode. Okay. Yes. More of a feeling. Although I did like when they were ripping Mr. C apart. Yeah. They're like
and strange things going on in the town in New Mexico.
Yes. I like that.
That we'll talk. But first let's talk about 7. So 7 has, I was editing some of the videos from season 2.
Yeah.
And you had said that your favorite character was Jerry Horn.
Jerry Horn.
And so Jerry Horn is in the beginning of this episode where he's lost in the woods or just high. And so
I think both.
Do you think that something's substantial is going to happen with him being in the woods? Nope. It's just him.
He's in Jerry.
Do you think he will be in the woods other episodes, or that's just that?
But I don't think it's important.
Okay, so not important. He's not going to stumble upon the White Lodge or the Black Lodge.
If he does, good on Jerry.
Okay,
I don't think so.
Don't have expectations. No. All right. Well, the part that I'm very fascinated with part 7, and the part where when I saw the return for the first time, I was like, "Woo, that's really cool!" Is when Hawk makes this discovery.
Yeah, I love that.
He discovers the pages. You want to tell us? Recap? Do you remember how he discovers the pages?
So we forgot to talk about it last time. And I was like, I bet it's Laura's pages. But in episode 6, he's like, what is this? And so he gets stuff and he's starting to take it apart.
Yeah.
And he finds the bathroom door because his little buffalo nickel.
That's right.
Lands on the floor in the bathroom, and he looks over and it's like the
Nez Perce logo.
Right. And so he pulls it open and he's like, 3 pages from Laura's diary. And there's a lot to unpack with the Laura's diary, what pages are missing. But I think all we need to do is be like, okay, they're from Laura. That's it.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. So if he says we're missing 4 pages, if we don't think about which diary it's from, and he finds 3, is the 4th page, did they find that in the first series? When
they might. That could be.
That's the letter?
That could be the
I think
letter.
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a great callback to Annie in Fire Walk with Me saying Dale is still in the lodge. The good Dale is still in the lodge. Right, the good Dale is still in the lodge. Yeah. And also, in addition to that, it isn't Bob is a phrase. Laura knows
it's not who it is.
It isn't Bob. So what do you think that is?
So that's maybe it could either be interpreted as the bad Dale isn't Bob, or Leland is the person who's
the person's been hurting me
is not Bob.
It's not Bob.
It's
actually Leland.
Yeah, which I think is a little more interesting to unpack.
And I think Hawk is kind of when Hawk's trying to sort of figure out why were the pages here.
Right.
It's like, well, maybe Leland saw these pages, ripped them out because of that.
Right. And he's like,
but it's also very interesting that Leland/Bob is ripping out pages that talk about Dale, right? He's not.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I want that.
He's not just ripping out the one that says it isn't Bob,
right?
But the one talking about Dale Cooper.
It could be Bob tearing it out because he's like, nope, I don't want that.
Yeah, and so maybe because it mentions the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't know who Dale Cooper is yet.
Right, but he's like, something in the Black Lodge? No, absolutely not. But I would also argue that Bob is timeless.
that there might be this temporal flux with Bob, and so it's like, oh, Dale Cooper, that guy, that guy that I'm gonna meet, that I already know of, that sort of thing. All right, so I really like that part, even if it might be confusing and inconsistent as to the where and the what. It's cool knowing that. We see Andy in action.
Oh yeah, he's not doing a good job.
He's not doing a great job. He goes to the kind of the farmhouse area and is talking to the guy with the truck.
The truck. He's like, "Is this your truck?" He's like, "It is. It was stolen." He's like,
"Can't talk about it now. I'll meet you later."
I'll meet you later. Doesn't meet him later.
Yeah. So what do you think happens?
He probably is being held hostage or dies.
Okay. So you think bad things have happened to the farmer, possibly hostage. At worst, he's already been killed.
At worst, already been killed. Or possible that it's his son, that weird kid guy. That could be his son.
Wally Brando? Oh, that the farmer's son is the jerk.
Kid. Yeah.
Is that jerk?
Yeah.
The kid.
Yeah.
We'll call him the kid because he didn't like being called kid, so we're gonna call him kid.
Yeah,
because I hate that guy.
I do too.
Other police characters are doing more sort of forensic work on the body, the headless body.
Right.
So it seems that is Major Briggs.
Yeah, and it's sad. I was sad because there wasn't 16 bodies.
Yes, Mackenzie was hoping from last episode that there's just going to be all these,
like a whole bunch of Major Briggs, headless Major bodies. Briggs.
But maybe it'll turn out to happen that way. Yeah, because the army detective or whoever she is, Cindy. She was quite surprised, right? Yes. She was like expecting just to find.
And then there was a guy.
And it's like there's an actual body. Yeah. So again, so it's not the body of a 70-year-old, it's the body of a 40-year-old. So Major Briggs has probably gone into the lodge.
But just his little head.
You think his head is still there?
I think his head's
still there. Because it does. We see an image of his head.
So that makes me think that it's only his head that is alive.
So does that mean Major Briggs is still alive?
But only his head. Yes.
Just his head.
Just his head.
But that's what counts.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair enough.
I'd rather have my head than just like my finger crawling around the black
That'd be pretty fun though.
Yeah, it would be fun. The agent named Tammy points out to Gordon Cole about the fingerprints
of
being backwards.
What's going on mirror image of Cooper's actual fingerprints.
Yeah, so
that they have to flip them to get the right recognition.
Yeah, they flip the image.
That makes me happy because at least they have some proof.
So they have a way
physical proof
to physically say this is not Dale Cooper.
Yeah,
because it's flipped.
Yeah, and is episode 7? Is that where we meet Diane for the she actually says more?
Yes. So they go. The episode 7 is they go over to Diane's place. She swears a lot. What do you think of Diane's character?
I like her.
Yeah.
I also feel bad for her because I think that she was assaulted by
Dale Cooper by the doppelganger.
The doppelganger Dale Cooper.
So when she says, "When's the last time that we saw each other?"
It was like 20 years.
So you think that was?
I think that was
after the Black Lodge switcheroo.
Yeah.
And so bad things happened.
Yeah. So sad bad things.
Sad bad things.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the impression you got from the conversation, and that's in part why she rushes out of there.
Right. And she's like, no, absolutely not. And she says something interesting, because it makes me think that she saw him after the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
Because she's like, yeah, I don't know who that is, but that's not Dale Cooper. Mm-hmm. Not the Dale Cooper that used to be there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
That is interesting, right? So
she's met him.
So that if something bad happened between the doppelganger and Diane decades ago,
she would be like.
But I mean, do you think then she thought that Dale Cooper had done something horrible?
Yeah.
And so she must have felt betrayed.
Yeah.
Which might be why she's not a part of the FBI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's my thought.
Then let's see. So the doppelganger, Mr. C, knows how to talk his way out of a federal prison.
He does. Mr. Strawberry.
By mentioning Mr. Strawberry and Joe McCluskey.
And
the dog legs.
Yeah. But also something about what was it? He was talking about like an affair.
That the warden had?
Yeah.
But it seems like the warden would he just like what's like, I had an affair, I'll let you out of prison. Then all the prisoners are gonna what?
But I think so if we end up seeing the rest of the dog legs, I think it's gonna be a whole dog. And it's gonna walk around and it's gonna have a sign on him. Like
that says Mr. Strawberry?
Like Something like that.
You think the dog is Mr. Strawberry?
Dog, no, I don't think that as much as I wish. I think the dog is carrying the information. So I don't think it's like, oh, the dog legs have like stuff tied to him. Yeah. I think that it's one dog carrying all the information and he's like jumping around.
With 3 legs.
Yeah.
All right. I hope that's true. Let's see. We also see Benjamin Horn again in this episode.
Good old Ben Horn. I love that he still has his name tag.
Yes, and he's hanging around with his assistant.
Yeah.
Right, played by Ashley Judd, and they're trying to find a sound. There's a sound going on there. Do you think that's significant?
I think it's more significant that they have a key.
Okay, and what's going to be the
key?
Why is the key significant?
I think, well, they talk about like, oh yeah, like I feel like Ben's kind of like waking up from this like 25-year fog.
Because he mentions Laura, and she's like, "Who's Laura Palmer?" It's like, that, my dear, is a long story.
Yeah, so I feel like that's more important than the noise, but maybe the noise is important.
And then she, so she talks with him for a while. Do you think is there a romance blossoming?
I don't think that Ben is interested at all. I know that you and Mom were like, oh man, he's trying to sleep with her. And I was like, and you're like, that could be his daughter. Yeah. And I was like, he tried to sleep with his daughter when she was 18. Yeah. Like there's nothing in his mind. Like at that point, that was worse.
Sure.
And so it's not worse than it's like, oh man, that's his daughter. Like it's the same age as his daughter.
That's
like,
true. That's true. That's it. Yeah, there's nothing in comparison to the way he was back then. So Benjamin Horn, and his assistant, they have their scene together. We don't really find out the source of the sound, but there's a long shot kind of at the wall and the lamp and maybe shadows and stuff like that. Yeah. I can't help but think that Josie is in the woodwork.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, we were like, oh, she's a doorknob. Did they ever find her? I don't know. Was she real?
She probably showed up at like some antique roadshow.
Oh my gosh, like you do a sketch, and have you ever seen the antique roadshow show, like actual like TV show?
Yeah.
Where people bring stuff.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It's like. How much for this dresser? Well, there's someone screaming apparition on the doorknob. I'm not sure if that makes the value go up or down.
Let me call in my ghost guy.
Yeah. Anyway, so then she goes home to her husband, who's very sick, seems to have cancer, which makes me go back to my idea of this recurring theme in both the fictional world of Twin Peaks and the reality of some of the cast members of cancer.
And other illnesses that you can't.
Yeah. Do you think that something's going to happen with that plot?
I think possibly. I think we'll learn more about it, but I don't know that it's important. There's a lot of things in Twin Peaks that you think like, oh, I got to remember that. Sure. And then there's like 20 other things that happen and you're like, neato.
Like, I didn't need to know that. What's interesting about the return is that they still have this lingering soap opera aspect.
Yeah.
But
nice.
But in many ways it's kind of muted, maybe a little more down to earth, realistic than some of the soap opera aspects of season 1 and season 2. Yeah, I don't know if we talked about that enough, but in episodes 5 and 6, we do get this return to the silliness aspect.
Yes, and I really enjoyed it
because all the stuff that's happening with Dale Cooper, who's in the role of Dougie, is pretty fun and amusing, and there's some nice sweet moments. There.
Yeah. At the end of this episode, Dougie, is this the one where Dougie like grabs the gun? Does he grab the gun there? Yeah, he grabs the gun and he's like, bang, bang, boom, I'm Dale Cooper for 5 seconds and now I'm back to Dougie. And the head of the arm comes out and he's like,
that's right. Yeah. So we see Dale Cooper kind of in a sudden burst of intuition.
Yeah.
Nails that guy.
Yeah. When I was thinking about it more, it makes sense for the arm. If the arm has evolved and is a little bit better, it makes sense for the arm to be like, crush off his arm, crush off his hand. Because like that's how the arm was born. So to me, it's like it's a little like reproduction for the arm.
The arm seems to be on Team Dale.
It seems to be.
right?
I think so.
We've been talking about like the arm back when he was sort of the little person dancing around. That he seemed like he was neutral.
Yeah.
Then he seemed like he was hanging out as Bob's friend because he wanted the
Garbanzola,
right? Or
whatever you say.
Garbanbosia. Pain and suffering.
Yes.
Then when the season 2 finale, I thought like, oh, he's full on evil.
Yeah, but I don't think he is.
Because when he had the white eyes saying doppelganger, I thought he was. I didn't think he was doppelganger. I thought he was like.
But there is a doppelganger.
I'm taunting you about a doppelganger.
Right.
But so there's a doppelganger of the arm,
and it's a tree, and he's yellow instead of flesh.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff going on. And speaking of wild stuff,
do you think they need the corn, the cream corn, pain and suffering to grow up? Do you think that's why he ate it and now he's different?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
He's like, I need to grow up.
So it's like, are they like Pokemon?
Yeah, they're like.
It's interesting because they say evolve instead of like he's grown up. It's like the evolution, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that's the last stage of evolution, or it doesn't look like?
I don't think that there's any last stage of anything.
Oh wow. One last thing about part 7.
Yeah.
We see. Remember, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, there's Jacques.
Yeah.
He's alive. So they're in limbo or hell or heaven or something like that. And who does it turn out to be?
It turns out to be Jacques' brother.
Yes.
Jean?
By the actor.
Yeah.
And so we have another case where an actor is playing multiple characters.
Roles,
yeah. So Jean-Michel.
Jean-Michel.
And he seems to be doing the same kind of scumbag, wheeling and dealing.
I do like that he has a different last name.
Oh, does he?
He's not Renault.
No, Jean-Michel. I think.
Is that a first name?
That's his first and middle name.
Okay, that's a lot.
Jean-Michel.
What's their last name?
Renault.
Their last name's Renault?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. So his brother has one.
So if Jean-Michel is a brother, he must be the last of like before. So because they had Bernie, they had Bernard, or Bernie. Yeah. Then they had Jacques. Mm-hmm. Then they had Jean. Michael? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. He's just scumbag.
Was it Pierre? Was it Jean-Pierre?
I think it's Jean-Pierre.
Sounds familiar. Anyway, they're all bad people, and then you got like one more. Still at the bar.
Yeah, and he's still wheeling and dealing in girls.
Yes. Yeah, so that's young, like high school, underage. So it's like nothing really substantial has changed as far as the criminal element goes in this town.
Yeah.
So part 8, weird stuff. Let's talk about it. The first really weird thing that happens is after Ray manages to shoot the doppelganger. So good for you, Ray.
Good job, Ray.
Even though we don't like you very much, but.
Also, Ray had gone from calling Mr. C, and then after he leaves the prison, he's like Mr. Cooper. Mm. And so he must find out from the warden, like, who this guy is.
Maybe.
And that's like his first big slip up. Because he says Mr. Cooper, and they like they don't pan, but you can see Dale, or, Mr. C. You can see his face, and he's like kind of angry.
Yeah.
After he says Mr. Cooper, and he's like, "Yep, for real this time, you're gonna die," but he doesn't get to kill him.
Yeah. So he shoots him a few times.
Yeah.
And
after Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Tries to shoot.
So there's a little treachery going on.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming was planned by the warden.
Yeah.
That the warden said, "Hey, Ray, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
I want you to kill this guy. So the gun that's going to be in the glove box is not going to work.
Yeah.
And you get to have a gun too."
Yeah. And I assume that Ray wasn't actually in prison.
Oh, I wasn't sure about that.
I don't think so, because Mr. C was like, he's not there. And so that's why he asked for him. Because I think that on some level, Ray and that other woman were working with the FBI on some level.
So you think
not the FBI, but the warden.
You think Daria and Ray are working with law enforcement?
Yeah, and maybe Mr. Strawberry is the person who hired Ray.
Maybe. And Ray has been talking to Phillips.
Yes.
Or at least somebody claiming to be Phillips.
Doppelganger Phillips, maybe.
But what we haven't talked about is that once Mr. C is shot, then these weird people, right? The woodsmen or the hobo men or whatever are all kind of like
see-through,
very dark and sometimes translucent.
Yeah.
So they just they start dancing around. They're kind of putting them back together.
Yeah, they're like, it reminded
Ray
us
stays there for a long time.
Oh yeah, he stays longer than I would have. And I don't know why he doesn't try and shoot some of those guys.
Maybe
he's got a gun.
Yeah. Well, when those things are around, as we see later on in this episode, people don't, are slow to react. Right? It's very shock oriented. Except for those people who
drive away. Good for them.
Yeah, but it takes them a while.
Yeah, it does.
It takes them a while to drive away.
However, so that part where I don't know why I said however, but the part where they're like rubbing his blood all around, it reminded us of Wizard of Oz, which is another comparison of Wizard of Oz.
We got more Wizard of Oz reference because it's like they're stuffing back the scarecrow
guy
and shining up the Tin Man.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that Bob comes out. I felt like that slimy thing was Bob's head, like popping out, like looking. Mm-hmm. And then like goes back in and like fixes Cooper.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Which is another weird anti-Jesus analogy.
Yeah.
Antichrist.
Antichrist.
Yeah, like I'm gonna fix you.
So after that, the shooting scene happens. Then we go to 1945.
Yeah.
To see what I believe is the first atomic bomb being detonated.
Yeah.
And then we go into the explosion. And we see
it's in slow motion too.
A lot of slow motion stuff, and then a lot of very avant-garde kind of imagery. It's very cool looking.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was like, "Yeah, this is cool." Mom did not.
My wife was watching it and was saying, like, "I could have made some phone calls. I could have been doing stuff."
Which is fair.
Where I'm just like, I kind of mesmerized. It's very like 2001, like the ending of Kubrick's 2001. So there's a lot of stuff that we're seeing, but I think the most interesting things to talk about are seeing that figure that seems to be like spewing stuff, smoke or eggs, I think, and Bob, smoke, eggs, and Bob.
Smoke, eggs, and Bob. That sounds like smoked eggs and Bob, like green eggs and ham.
Okay, you know what I saw that I don't know if it means anything.
Yeah.
But I saw, I shouldn't look on the internet while I'm...
Bob is like Bob?
Bob is like without the M.
Yeah.
It's like Bob.
Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting point to bring up. So I feel like a lot of people in this episode, what you might do, like Mom talked about it.
Yeah.
And we talked about it as a group. And I was thinking, so first, let me explain. When the bomb goes off, I have a feeling people are going to like, oh, the first atomic bomb, that opens up the Black Lodge kind of thing. And I get that, but I also, I don't think that the Black Lodge would open just because of that. Because my thought is like, evil is always going to continue to happen. And it always has been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can only combat evil with good.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to like make no evil.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that the atomic bomb would change anything. It's just a bigger tool.
Yeah.
It's like it's destructive, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
I see. So you think that some people might interpret that, hey, because we created this terrible thing, that like it could be any massively terrible action,
like a gun
that would open up the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting because I've thought of it as in more of like a science fiction possibility.
Oh, like the radiation?
Something about the radiation and the splitting of atoms has kind of has made something
split.
Has kind of opened up this thing. So it kind of depends on whether or not you want to see the Black Lodge as something science fiction based,
or something
which you have like the little Project Blue Book and the Air Force and the secrets and stuff like that, and the little channels with the numbers and the owl message and things like that. So that's kind of science fiction.
Yeah.
But then there's also the very spiritual kind of Hawk. The way Hawk explains things,
because the lodge has been around since
so it makes
forever.
it seem like, oh no, we've got angels and we've got demons and we've got that kind of mythos, and of course you could kind of blend those two things together.
I think that's probably how I look at it, is blended. And maybe even more on the like, okay, let's look at the psychological side most of the time.
I like to think with my pet theory. It's not the only theory I have, but
because it's radiation.
My pet theory about Twin Peaks, at least The Return, is exploring this idea of cancer.
Yeah.
So we have radiation, and if you think of it, there's different types of radiation.
Yeah.
All sorts of different types of radiation, and some of it's good for us, or can be used for good.
Yeah. In fact, I'm making radiation.
That's right. Right. So I'm wondering if the different characters that we see above the convenience store are different aspects of radiation.
Oh, that's actually interesting.
And that Bob is one that's going to cause a lot of disease,
damage,
and others might be sort of like, I don't know, X-ray radiation, or something that
could cause damage.
Could cause damage, but it could also be used to see things or see through
or
things.
Stop Bob.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that's what I was thinking when I was watching the weirdness going on. But in addition to the explosion and the retching of the eggs, we also have this long scene that takes place in that black and white world,
the movie theater
above
type
above the purple ocean in the house or the movie theater. And so we see the giant, and we see that lady who's listening to the phonograph. And she kisses the golden egg that has Laura Palmer's face.
Yeah, and she sends it into the world.
What's going on with that?
That's interesting to me. I also like how that guy flies. Like, he flies like a normal person, and then he's like laying down.
Yeah, and it's out of his face that the golden material
he's like,
the cloud is coming from his
And it's
face.
interesting, the cloud does kind of look like the explosion from the atomic bomb as well. But I do think it's interesting to talk about the Laura face thing.
Yeah.
And the timeline doesn't add up, but I don't think it matters. Because they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to send her down. And that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sending Laura down in 1945?
Yeah. Because, I assume that either Leland's about to be born or has already been born.
Well, if Sarah, here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If Sarah is born at 1945, or is maybe in the womb in 1945, then Laura Palmer is going down as an egg inside Sarah.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's nice. Yeah.
Because eggs
it takes
form like very well. They also form like
they form at
when you're a fetus.
Yeah.
You already have your eggs.
Right, and then that's all you get.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. So most people only get the eggs they get, but Sarah Palmer
gets an
extra egg.
That's
but
good.
Here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
When the golden egg was being formed and the lady's getting ready to kiss it, you were saying, like, is it Dale Cooper? Right? Is it going to be Dale?
I thought it was going to be Dale Cooper.
Because we have like this evil presence of Bob, and so it seems like these two people, the giant and the lady, it seems like, well, we need to have something good, goodness to counteract this evil. But what we see of Laura, well, that's the interesting thing. I think I love Laura's character, but at the same time, Laura is basically absorbing this pain. Right, and violence against her, and is kind of reacting to it, and spending her short life reacting to it and dealing with it. And so it's maybe I'm thinking too much of, like, the hero's journey kind of thing, but it doesn't at this time at least seem that Laura's the good to counter that evil. So what do you think?
I think that she is kind of the good. When I thought about it more, I'm starting to think that Laura actually stopped Bob in some way. Okay. More than just getting another vessel. Like, because it's like Bob's angry. Yeah. And that's why he kills Laura, right? He's like, see what you did, now I have to kill you.
So Laura is a martyr character that sacrifices herself to stop something.
To stop Bob from ever getting another vessel. What do you think
that Gotcha. So you think that Bob,
and that's
why Bob has not possessed anyone.
Right. He's just kind of helping doppelgangers.
He's helping the doppelganger, but he's not possessing.
But he can't get inside anything. Which is why I think that like ghost thing is actually Bob, and he's trying to get something. And when he tried to get into someone, he just killed them. Like, so if it is Bob, then that means he hasn't
been
able to get...
The ghost thing is the guy that says GottaLight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, not GottaLight. The one in the box.
Oh, okay.
So he's like trying to get...
Okay.
He's trying to
get when the apparition in the box, it's like, I'm going to try to get into
I'm going to try to get out.
And just scratch, like,
he couldn't get in
dead.
Because he just killed him. Which is, what happened to Laura, too. So even though those people don't have a choice of letting Bob in, Bob doesn't get anywhere. They just die. That's my thought.
But I guess the thing is that Bob, by that interpretation, which is very interesting, Bob is still malevolent and capable of physically killing things.
Yes. But it seems to have to do with that box. Yeah. You know what I mean? It seems to have to do with that area. And I think that's some kind of like between area, because Dale does fall through when he goes to the crazy space. Yeah. And so it's like kind of like this is an area where he. So if Bob
was able to possess people, then bad things would happen to humanity.
Yes, I think
maybe.
So. Yeah.
That's the interesting thing about Bob as a villain. And also sort of the global aspect that we're seeing in 8, right? It's like
it's like everywhere.
The universe is at work saying like we need to counteract this. But in many ways, what we've seen of Bob's evil is very, very focused on committing evil to those kind of a small area, right? Yeah. So it's not like Leland had ambitions to become the president of the United States or anything like that.
Although I think Laura seems like she had a lot going for her mentally.
So you think if he transferred into Laura and maybe other people like that it would have been able to this spread. Cancer, this social cancer that spread.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing to point out. Even though Bob is trying to, like, if we interpret that thing as Bob, he's interacting with the world, but I think Laura is also interacting with the world. I feel like Laura is being able to push that coin towards the bathroom door.
Okay.
So I interpret some of these things as being Laura.
I do like that idea that going back to Laura being the one that's meant to stop things. Yeah. That Laura is the one at the beginning of the return that seems to be here to help Dale Cooper.
Right. She's able to send people out, just like Bob's able to send people out. Yeah. She can't leave, but she can kind of interact. Yeah. So she's kind of made it an even playing field for Bob versus Laura kind of thing. That's how I've been looking at it.
So with that idea, so assuming that Laura's work is not done yet, what do you think Laura Palmer's role will be in the rest of this series?
I think kind of like a helping hand, like a guiding.
Sort of an angel?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Not like... She can't like physically stop things, but she can help.
So guiding the way the giant has done.
Yeah. Except maybe even more towards good.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like she's more of like a force towards good as the giant, and the other people are just kind of like there.
Gotcha. So if the giant is basically the giant and also the log, I guess. Yeah. So sometimes there's riddle-like messages delivered.
Right. They're not always great.
Yeah, they're not always.
Maddie died.
Yeah. So they're not always that helpful, or at least it takes a while for it to be helpful. And so you think that Laura might be the presence that's like, but I'm going to seal the deal to make sure.
Just like Bob is able to push towards bad.
Yeah.
And the doppelganger, the arm and Mike aren't really able to push towards good. Yeah. They're just kind of like pushing.
Don't
die.
Not
like, just go. And like Laura, I think, can actually push towards good, and Bob can push towards evil. So it's kind of like clash.
All right. Well, speaking of evil, so evil things happen in that small town in the 1950s, right? So we go from 1945 to I think 1956, and we see a young couple, right? They look like they're in their early teens. Yes. Right? They're like 13 maybe or something like that.
13, 15.
Yeah, something like that.
They're at school.
So it's kind of sweet, and there's a good night kiss. Yeah. She goes inside, and then in the town.
And they're listening to music.
Yeah. And then in the town, those weird guys show up. We already talked about the people that barely escape with their lives in the car.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for them. They're just like, no.
And then he's going like, GottaLight.
What did you have a light?
Yeah, if you offer him a light, what happens?
What?
Maybe you don't get your skull crushed. So he skull crushes the reception lady, and then the DJ for like a long time he's holding on to him.
He's holding on, and then
while he says, "This is the water, and this is the well.
Horse,
drink.
Oh,
drink deep. I didn't write everything down.
Drink deep.
Drink full.
Drink full. Something.
The horse is. No, it's like
the horse.
The white.
The horse is white of the eye, and dark within.
I did not write it within. I was in the dark when I was writing this down.
The horse is the light of the eyes.
Yeah, white of the eyes and dark within. So he keeps chanting this.
Do you think he's the horse? I think he's the horse.
You think the man that's saying that is the horse?
I think that's the horse.
Is the horse okay? So we've got
because like he's inside the horse.
I want the let's figure out the hierarchy of these bad guys, the spiritual ones.
Yeah.
So there's Bob.
Yeah.
There's the shadowy figure that spews Bob out.
Yeah.
And is that the same shadowy figure that's in the box?
Maybe.
We don't know.
That might be like the actual Bob.
We don't know if there's just one shadow figure. All right, so there's the shadowy figure that spews stuff.
Yeah.
That may or may not be the shadowy figure in the box.
And he also might be Bob. Question mark?
Yeah.
I think he might be Bob.
Bob spewed himself. That's very like Norse mythology kind of thing.
That's also like
sure. So then
he doesn't have a human form.
Yeah, he's spewing a human form.
form.
Anyway, let's separate them down.
Yeah. Okay.
Bob, shadowy thing.
Uh-huh.
In the explosion, shadowy thing in the box.
Yeah.
The GottaLight guy.
GottaLight.
The horse.
The horse.
Any other bad guy? And the doppelganger, but we're putting him over the
bug.
Different thing. The bug. That's right. The bug. That's good. I'm glad you mentioned that. The bug that crawls into that poor girl's mouth.
What about the shadow men that are also there? They're not that guy. They're not the guy. They're not the
GottaLight guy.
But they're the guy who puts Cooper back together.
Yes. But they seem like henchmen, guy.
Okay,
yeah. So out of
they're like
I don't know. I'm holding them up like we're going to remember those things. So what's the hierarchy?
Shadow figure.
There's also the
dark lot. The black
oh wait.
Itself.
Okay. So remember how he says like I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
And then we've seen. Sorry.
We won't do a picture.
So he's looking. Yeah. So he's looking for. He has the ace of spades that has the bug head.
And it's closed.
So is that the bug?
Is that the bug? It kind of looks like the bug.
I think it's the bug.
It might be the bug. Is the bug the leader?
So who's the head bad guy, or are these bad guys all on the same team?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that they're all on the same team.
Okay.
I think they are. I would assume that the guy covered in paint is on the same team as the bug.
Okay, so there's Bug. So he's working for the Bug?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. So the
GottaLight's working.
He seems like he's an employee, right?
Yeah.
Seems like he's on a mission.
He's got a thing to say. Don't get in his way.
Yeah. All right. So there's the Bug.
Now he's going to eat some hay because he's the horse.
Well, that's who's the horse?
He is.
The GottaLight guy's the horse.
Think the horse is also
because he walks into the distance and then there's the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
I
you're going to say the GottaLight guy is the horse, and so the horse / GottaLight guy works for the Bug.
Yes. And both of those work for the spew guy.
So the spew shadow
and I think
thing,
Bob also works.
Does that spew guy look masculine, feminine, or neutral to you?
I think neutral. I can't tell. I don't know. He's flat-chested, but so am I. So, like, I don't know.
All right. So
I can't tell how tall he is.
So the spew guy that makes the Bug.
Yeah, that makes Bob.
And makes Bob. So Bob. I think
Bob's on the same level as this guy.
Okay, so Bob and Bug are on the same...
Bob and Spew Guy are on the same level.
Okay. Do you think the Spew Guy is Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
In some way, yes. In like a spiritual way. Like, it's like he made Bob a physical form because he wanted to be able to act through Bob.
Gotcha.
The same way that those guys made Laura a physical form.
So Bob is not. So Bob is like the manifestation of the Spew Guy.
Yeah.
So Bob wouldn't be like, oh, I got to report to my boss.
But I think the Bug would report back. I don't know what the Bug is.
Gotcha. So Spew Guy / Bob is the king of the evil people.
Yes. He's the
head
owner
honcho
of the Black Lodge.
Bob's okay. We're gonna say that Bob / spew guy.
He runs the Black.
He
Lodge.
Runs the Black Lodge. The bug. The bug is the bug's underneath.
Yeah, he works
one level underneath.
Yeah, and then
the GottaLight guy / horse.
He works for the
working
bug,
for the bug,
but could report back to the spew guy.
So we could think of this as like this is spew guy Bob, the general. Bug is maybe like a major.
Yeah.
GottaLight / horse is a captain.
Yeah.
And then the guys putting it together are like privates and corporates.
Yeah. They're just like,
all right, we figured it out. We have the rankings.
Did we have any other?
So when the bug crawls into the girl's mouth, what's going on?
I don't know, but I think she's gonna go find that horse.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. What did you think? Does it have anything else to do with the story? Because if so, I guess don't say anything.
I'm not going to say anything. Okay. I think, again, my memory is sketchy on this, but I think I have an idea of what it means, and I think it's because I have vague memories of what happened.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like she's not going to have a lot to do with the story.
You would not be surprised if they just like never touch upon it again.
Never talk about the bug. They're like,
never talk
she ate a bug.
She ate a bug. Pretty gross, right?
Maybe 2 people died.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, we're trying to figure out, like, with the hierarchy here, we're trying to figure out, like, all these worldly kind of things. But it could be that Bob's just a dick.
Yeah.
Just a jerk. He's just a jerk. And he's just doing low-level things. Like, you know what I'm going to do?
Make her eat a bug.
I'm going to make her eat a bug.
I'm going to crush a guy's head.
It's like, how do we make her eat the bug? Well, we've got to make sure everybody falls asleep in town. Well, we have to have... Mr. Horse needs to turn into a guy to crush people's heads. Like, do it. It'll be fun. Will she eat a bug? That's the only way we can figure out how she can eat a bug. Then let's make it happen. I want. Get on this. This plan started in 1945 during the explosion. It's like, sir, it's Bob. It's gonna take. It's gonna take like 11 years
to get everybody in the physical form.
All of this to happen, so she eats a bug. Yes.
Good. You know what?
Okay, we just talked with bug makers, and we screwed up a little bit. It kind of looks like part amphibian, part frog. That's better. That's even better. I like this. Let's roll with it.
I kind of like that version of Bob. He's just really self-centered, and he has no plans.
Well, yeah. Well,
like, people are just like, yes, man.
The actor Frank Silva, in like a little sort of Twin Peaks conference that he does in like the early 90s, they ask him, like, what do you think of Bob? And his interpretation is like Bob's just like out to have fun and pleasure. Yeah, like,
I mean that's pretty cool.
So
cool idea, Bob.
Yeah, and so we kind of see that when Leland is like off his rocker in season 2 and singing and dancing, and having fun,
like,
and then just smashes his head against the door so that Bob just kind of escapes. Yeah. There's a chaotic evil aspect.
Right.
Going to Dungeons and Dragons terms, there's a chaotic evil aspect to that version of the Bob.
Yeah, that we don't see as much.
Well, it feels like
there's a plan going on.
There's a lawful evil aspect that seems to be going on with the doppelganger.
Yeah, which, to be fair, it is
rules
Cooper
and things like that.
It is the opposite of Cooper.
That's true.
So he might actually be making plans because Cooper makes plans.
Yeah, maybe. Although that said, lawful evil, if lawful evil follows their own laws, the doppelganger does not want to follow the law of the lodge because he doesn't want to go back there.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Does not want to go back.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for watching Twin Peaks: The Return.
We'll see you next time. We got to go watch some more.
Yes, we're going to go watch part 9. Until then.
Part 9. See ya.
See ya.